have been thinking about invisible forces lately, and there's been some good old summer thunderstorms and rainbows, and I sat this little retreat, not little, like this retreat a couple weeks ago, where we sat with this piece of writing called the Genjo Koan, written by Dogen, who lived at the turn of the 13th century. And the Genjo Koan is hard to describe briefly, but I've been sitting with this piece that comes at the very end of it. Now, like, Dogen is someone that I love to read his work because you can't read it with your mind at all. You have to read it with your whole body. You have to let it just run through you. Because if you just take the words, they cancel each other out and they turn you back on yourself, and then they grow like a wild ingrown hair, and then they cause you great pain and consternation, and then they turn right back inside you. And so Dogen is this mix of like dancing ingrown hairs that I love to, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? But that I just love to kind of have wash over me. It's like a massage once you start to really get into it. It's like, oh, look at oh, there's another portal. There's another portal. Oh, yeah, massage me into another portal, Dogen. Let's do this. So there's this story at the end of the Genjo Koan, which I have retranslated because sometimes I feel like some of these Zen stories have all been translated by men for hundreds of years. And there's this even the ones that are about don't use your mind end up with this sort of sharp mental translation. And I kind of, I wanted to open it up a little. I wanted to reflect kind of like the way it opens for me, and like talk about it in its open, flowy manifestation. So there's this Zen master who's, let's say he's sitting on a bench. His name is Mayu, right? And he's like fanning himself. It's hot. It's like it is today, Mayu's just like sitting there and chilling. And he's like, oh, God. How about that wind that my hands are generating? Oh my God, it feels so amazing. Look how powerful I am. There's like wind coming out of my hands. Oh, it's magic. And he's just like thinking that to himself. And this young monk comes up and he's like, Mayu, the nature of wind is permanent, and there's nowhere it doesn't reach. Why then do you fan yourself? Mayu looks at him and he said, well, you only understand that wind abides, not that it embraces. If you call it that, it won't come because you don't know its name. What a thing to deny the embrace when there is a fan right here, right now. And then the young monk bows and he's going. Now, I personally, there's a lot of bitch slapping in Zen, and I kind of like the idea of Mayu bitch slapping this young monk before he sends him on his way, but that's definitely not part of the story, and I'm not going to throw that in there, even though it's very tempting. So why do I love this story so much? I love this story so much, I think, because I've been sitting at the harbor where I live a lot this summer because my dog has been very sick. And so I'm not doing a lot of the fun summer things that I would normally be doing, like kayaking and hiking and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of sitting in this beautiful little park where there are all of these sailboats. And so I've been thinking a lot about wind, and invisible forces like cancer. Cancer and wind have sort of been, there's been this confluence of cancer and wind in my summer as this invisible force of cancer moves through my dog, and this invisible force of wind can move through us all the time and be summoned by our very hands all the time, right? And I look at these sailboats and I think, wow, our capacity to harness the wind in the same way that fanning ourselves with our own hand, we then invented sailboats. We found this way to harness this invisible force and move all over the world and create this world that we're now confronting, deciding if we want to continue and how we will continue, and what is the capacity of each of us to harness invisible forces instead of just leaving it to a few captains of a few big ships. How can we all be responsible for moving the wind, for summoning the wind, for summoning this great force that is both creative and destructive, that can be used in a sailboat to navigate the globe, and also can come in the form of Hurricane Katrina, you know? And yet it's also the same force that's right here in our hands. So I've been thinking a lot about how each of our bodies, these little metabolic wonders, you know, each of our bodies are the meeting place of energy and matter. Each of us are doing that magic, that alchemy all the time, just with nutrition. I can eat bread and take what nourishes me and shit out the rest, and I don't even have to do it consciously. My body's own wisdom, my body's inherent wisdom, if I don't interfere with it, actually flows along quite beautifully. So I think what appeals to me about this story is that the monk comes along, Mayu's just sitting there, fully aware of his capacity to be at this confluence of energy and matter, and is a master of that. You know, Mayu's like a Zen master. That's his deal. He's like, I don't know that he really did that, but you see what I'm getting at. And this monk comes along with his idea of what this force is, right? Coming along with his preconceived mental notion that, the wind, here's what I know about the wind. The wind is permanent and there's nowhere it doesn't reach. So why would you, a master, need to fan himself? What a stupid, petty, base, embodied, relative thing to be doing, Mayu. And Mayu's like, if that's what you think wind is, you're a fucking moron. Where is your heart, young monk? If this knowledge is only in your mind and not in your body, you don't know shit, punk. You know? Why would you deny the embrace that is the wind? Why would you deny opening your heart and your hands to this magnificent force? Of course it abides. Of course it reaches everywhere. But it doesn't reach your body unless you actually take responsibility for summoning it. Unless you put your hands to it and your heart to it and your intention to it. So this, wind is permanent and there's nowhere it doesn't reach. Who cares about that as an idea? If it's hot, you fan yourself. And that's why at the end, what a thing to deny the embrace when there is a fan right here, right now. We have hands and hearts, and there are invisible forces all around us, and we are this space where energy and matter meet. And we are responsible for that interaction that's already happening anyway. Energy and matter are meeting inside, within and without us all the time. So how can we be responsible for that? And what other invisible forces are around us that we can't hear because we're so caught up in our identity turbines and our ideas, like this young monk? Wind, the nature of wind is permanent and there's nowhere it doesn't reach. So why would you bother to fan yourself? This energy I feel I call anxiety. So I'm going to be victimized by it instead of wielding it skillfully. What if instead that energy that comes up that I see that so many people are suffering from now that we want to call anxiety, it's a huge energy. And you know what? We all need a lot of energy because a lot of shit is changing right now. But if we call that energy anxiety and we decide that we're going to be victimized by it and resist it because it's been pathologized, then how will we make that leap to skillfully wield it? How will we make that leap to let that energy, instead of letting it get caught in our chests where we can barely stand it? How do we make that leap to let it come through our throats, come out of us, filtered through the authenticity of who we are, the free birthright with which it should be flowing through us? But we have this external idea about pathologizing different energies, that we're instructed to believe that big surges of energy are unbearable, and they simply are not. It's just a matter of absolutely grounding that in yourself and choosing not to call it that name. Energy, tell me your name. I'm not going to call you anxiety this time. I'm going to let you tell me your name. What do you have to say about this present moment? Tell me your message and go. Move through me, which it will eventually anyway, whether you call it anxiety or not. It's just a matter of how much suffering are you going to generate for yourself as the energy moves through you. That is truly up to you and your response. Soften or clench. Invite or resist. Respond or react. Wind is not the only invisible force that surrounds us and is available for the summoning at our fingertips at all times. Heat is like that. Love is like that. How we move with that which we are already dancing with anyway makes all the difference. I mean, we can try to be wallflowers to that which is already dancing with us. We can try to step back and clench and shut down and be like, I don't want to be responsible for the co-arising with the world. I don't want to believe that my thoughts are actually co-creating reality right now. But you can even see that on Facebook. I see it on Facebook all the time. Facebook is not inherently a terrible place. It's the action of each individual soul behind the keyboard that makes it what it is. Facebook is a space not unlike energy. It is essentially neutral, and we are all co-creating it. And so we're all responsible for what it is. And that's why I love having my little corner of this place where I just don't stand for that. You can bring whatever idea you have, and this space will metabolize it. I trust my field to bring in grief, love, joy, suffering, sadness. Whatever comes in, I trust myself at this point in my practice to meet and metabolize with compassion and skill. I can take what nourishes me and shit out the rest. And I trust that that metabolism is the same as the energy that underlies impermanence. So I can move with life. I don't have to say, not today, anxiety. I can say, oh, who are you? What are you doing here? All right, I can feel that surge in my chest, and let it come out of my throat skillfully so that I don't have to hold it and suppress it. Because it's mine like everything else that I encounter. Because if I wasn't encountering it, if I'm encountering it, it belongs with me. And I trust that completely. If it's coming into my field, it's somehow part of my practice. I agree to that responsibility. So whether it be wind or heat or love or rain or, water, any of these things that I can move with my hands and my intention and my metabolism. How can I build this field that I am to have a greater and greater capacity so that I can be of greater and greater service? So that I can be effortlessly generous and keep an open heart that nothing can threaten. And that to me is why I had to retranslate this story. Because that is what the story of Mayu and the monk is about for me. This monk has an idea. The nature of wind is permanent and there's nowhere it does not reach. Why then do you fan yourself? Why would you? And that's such an ignorant question. Like, that's why I kind of want Mayu to bitch slap the monk at the end, because if there's no heart to your practice, then it is no practice at all. Mindfulness, no, fuck that. Fuck mindfulness. Fuck it. If it's just mind, it is fucking pointless. Mind, heart, genitals, alive, lit. You can handle all of that energy, and you are responsible for all of that energy. Why do you fan yourself? Because you are in the world and it's hot. And you can, and you should, and you have to. You have to. When I was at this retreat in January, I speak to this because I was that monk. I was like, I know what my practice is. I've had this, I understand that everything is illusion and the only truth is the absolute. And and you know what that led me to? That led me to 8 years of hardcore alcoholism. So, it's not that I don't have sympathy for the monk. I really do. And there is another side. On the other side, there's this chant that we sometimes do called Sandokai, right? So it's the relationship of the relative and the absolute, which now I'm getting a little, inside baseball Buddhism, but bear with me for a second. So there's this idea that, sure, we all understand everything's connected, and that becomes almost like a cliche. And so there's the relative and the absolute fit together like a box and a lid, right? And so the Genjo Koan is basically saying you need to throw yourself into that space between the box and the lid and be uncomfortable. Bear witness to not knowing and let that lead to compassionate action. Bear witness to not knowing. Bear witness to not knowing. Just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my name will be at the end of the month. Literally. Does it matter? No. Not in the sense that all things are connected and that we're all this confluence where energy and matter meet. No, in that sense, no. But in the sense that I am using words and talking to you through this computer on the Facebook right now, yes, it matters a lot. Because these vessels are how that energy moves. And there is still cause and effect. And that's where responsibility comes in. Even though I can only see a small slice of reality at any given time. In the Genjo Koan, the same document, there's a part where Dogen talks about, well, if you paddle out far enough, the ocean looks like a circle. Even though we all know that the ocean is actually a vast cauldron of forces. It's not a circle at all. But all I can spy with my little eyes in that scenario is a circle. So I treat it like a circle. I still fan myself. I still tend my dog. Still went and got a coffee this morning. What is my Genjo koan? What does my space look like between the box and the lid? Well, it's fucking embodied. It's mind, heart, pussy, middle of the box, lit up and ready for service. Boom. Thank you for joining me for this lunchtime rant. I'll see you soon.